Hey YouTubers! Since all my other videos are doing so good, not really, I thought I'd start a series on reloading. There's a lot of people ask me, you know, what I need to get started. I mean, how do I, you know, get into reloading? I mean, is it complicated? Well, reloading is kind of as complicated as you make it. Doesn't have to be overly complicated, and it doesn't have to be overly expensive. I see some of these preppers, and there's one guy in particular, and I'm kind of picking on him. I don't mean this in a mean way, but he has a reloading bench with several Dillons up on it, you know, and he spent $3,000 or $4,000 on these presses. And, you know, preppers are all like, you got to make do with what you got. You know? That's fine. If he wants the Cadillac, if he wants the luxury car, you know, hey, I can't, you know, fault the guy. If you can afford it, that's just fine. But you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to get into reloading. So it's how much you want to spend and how much money you want to throw into the fire. So I don't have a lot of equipment. As you can see, I got a lot of Lee stuff, and then a couple reloading books. One of them is on shotguns, some dies, sizers, some other sort of junk and paraphernalia, bullet puller. Now I got Lee stuff. You'll notice I pretty much got all Lee stuff. I do have an RCBS powder trickler and some Frankfurt Arsenal stuff, but a lot of it I bought was because it was cheap. Because when I was getting into reloading, I wasn't going to be, you know, reloading a ton of ammo. As a lot of people do, when you start being able to save a lot of money, you start shooting more. So I don't think I've saved any money. Actually, I probably spent more money since I started reloading. But you know, people ask, well, what I need to start? Well, this video will cover that. The first question I'd ask anyone that wants to get into reloading is, well, how much ammo do you fire? Because if you shoot a couple boxes of ammo a year, you're going to have to really do it on the cheap to save any money. Now, if you shoot a few hundred rounds a year, I'd say get a cheap kit and enjoy and have fun at it. Because you will save money even with just a few hundred rounds a year. You know, all these people with all these Dillons lined up across it, they must shoot a lot because they got a lot of money in them presses. Now, I'm not saying them aren't nice presses. I never actually played with one of them, but I have looked and played around with a lot of the other brands, and they're all nice presses. And Lee, they make nice presses too. You know, people say it's not an heirloom quality press. Well, I beg to differ. If you take care of what you got, it does last a lot longer. This is my little Lee press. Now, I'm not lying to you, and I know I've loaded in excess of 15,000 rounds over the last 4 or 5 years since I started reloading on this thing, until the primers dried up here recently. I mean, I know I'm not lying to you if I say I had 15. That's probably more. And this press, there's a little bit of play when it's at full extension. Just a little bit. Probably not even a 32nd of an inch. That's with that many rounds in there. Now, if you're reloading a couple hundred rounds a year, don't ever worry about it wearing out, because it ain't going to wear out like everyone says, you know, oh, them Lees are made out of aluminum and blah, 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 and all that. It'll be fine. Now, I do keep a little oil bottle here, and I do put some oil around on the ram, on the, you know, different sides of it, and I do hit the linkage before I, you know, go into reloading. I've gotten into doing 100 batches because it just works for me. I have about 2.5 to 3 hours. I can reload 100 rounds of hunting ammunition. That's weighing and checking every charge. when you start out 20, you don't want to push it to do small groups, or start out and try to learn and do your experimenting and get your loads worked up for your rifles, because every rifle is going to have a little bit different load. And we'll get into developing loads and stuff, and using equipment and stuff like that, and some common sense approach to this. But I got some numbers here. Now, these little Lee presses, they've been about $100. They're up to about 123 for this reloading kit, somewhat like I got. They also got Turf presses for about the same price. And if you go up to a Pro 1000 is a little progressive for about 186. For like 2 something, almost 3, you can get the Lee Loadmaster. But these old Lee loaders for $25. If you have one rifle and you're shooting a few boxes of ammo through it a year, this may be an option. Of course, the only thing about the Lee loaders, they don't have a scale with them. They want you to use a powder dipper with them, which you can get I guess you can get close. A lot of people like these. They want you to do brass out of the gun that you're shooting. You can't, interchange brass around. You can get new brass inside it, but it basically neck sizes the round, which makes the brass last longer, but you won't go and use it back in the same rifle. I had one guy talk about he shot, missed, went to reload, and his rounds was on the inside of his jacket where it was warm, and it was really cold out, and he had problems chambering the next round and lost the deer, which, I don't know. But I've heard some people talk about that, but I've heard even more people say that these are nice. $25 to get into reloading. Or like 125, you'll need a set of dies, and with Lee, you need the shell length gauge, and there's another shell holder that goes on your little spinner lock stud. Your dies can start out as low as $25.99. I get a lot of my stuff at either Notches or Midway, or some of it at Cabela's. But I did an example here. Hope you can see it. 243 Winchester. I've priced several boxes, and they run from like $21.49 for some cheap Federal. You can get more expensive ammunition, like the Remington Power Locks and pointed soft points. I shoot a lot of these, so it was like $24.99 a box. And I don't know why I wrote down $24.49. Bad math, I guess. I just noticed that. But comes out to about $122.45 at that price. So you're looking at $125 for 100 rounds. And that's 5 boxes of 20. Okay. Now, I priced some other components here a little while back, and your bullets. A lot of your cheaper end bullets will run about 20 rounds of ammunition will run. Like where is it? There's Winchester pointed soft points, $24.49 for 100 of them. I remember when them was down to like $12.99. I got some of mine at that price. Now your brass, Remington brass for 50 is running $29.99. I was down at Cabela's here a weekend or two ago, and I got 50 brand new Winchesters for $24.99. I grabbed 2 bags of them. If I could afford it more, I would have got it. Now, Varget powder, I like using it because it's temperature stable. Doesn't matter if it's 20 below or 100 degrees outside, it's going to fire the same. So it's more accurate over a spread of temperature like that. But in 1 pound of powder, it's running $24.99. I can't believe that. I used to be under $20. I think I paid like $18 for some of the one that I got there a couple years ago. You get 7,000 grains in a pound, and at starting load on a 243, 36 grains. Now you may use a little more. You can customize your round to your rifle, but most of my most accurate rounds are nowhere near max charge. So all these people, you gotta max it out. No, you don't. Just whatever you feel comfortable shooting, and what shoots the best in your rifle. But that makes about 194 rounds. So you may have a little waste here. You usually spill a little bit. 190 rounds. It's almost 200 rounds. And then primers, you can get them. I got some on sale down at Cabela's here recently. Got some Remington and large rifle, because it's hard to find them around up here. That's priced for $1,000. You can go Walmart and buy them in 100 bats. I priced them at about $3.50. I only put $15 for the powder because you're not using all 7,000 grains of it. You're only using 100 rounds of it. And then 100 rounds of the cheaper pointer soft points adds up to $42.99. Now that's if you use your own brass. So if you're thinking about reloading, start saving the brass. You can add another, $25 to that for 50 brass. You can reload brass, especially if you're neck sizing. You may go 10, 12 or more times. You got to watch your brass. Every make of it will be different. So I can't say, well, you'll get 10 reloads out of this. It's hard to say, because you also got to take and anneal your cases and keep the brass from getting work hardened. And then sometimes you'll lose brass quicker. So 42 as opposed to $125 basically. And if you added $25 for brass, but you can reuse that forever. Just say you take part of that charge for the $25 in brass. Just say, bring it up to 50. 125 versus 50, you save $75. That's half a reloading setup and a set of dies. And with the reloading setup, you get a powder thrower, you get a scale, you get the stuff to do your brass prep on the leaves, and I'll show you that later, and you get this. Now, you can buy bushings for these. You can buy extra turrets for the turret presses. People will set them up and they have stands. And it's been my thing. If I do 100 batch, because like when I'm reloading, unless I don't have that many, I keep my brass in batches because it's important. Because after so many firings, I got to anneal them, and if they're all mixed up, I don't know what's going on. Like one's fire. Here's some, but like these. I got 100 and some of these. Say I reload 100 of these 9mm. I'm going to take and keep this brass together through the firings, because I'll lose some of it along the way, because I may get cracks in it. Now 9mm lasts forever. But, I got some 9mm cases I reloaded, I think, about 15, 16 times. So yeah, I go through a lot of 9mm. Wife and the kids get into it with that high point carbine, and I can't reload the magazines fast enough for them. They're like, Daddy, hurry up! But anyway, you can see how much you reload, how much you'd save for 100 rounds. Okay, and like I said, I was trying to tell you, you don't need to buy all this fancy stuff like all of these bushings and stuff. I got one bushing, because if I size 100 rounds, my sizer die needs to be taken apart and cleaned, because there's all kind of brass and all this stuff up in there. If I load 100 rounds, especially if I'm doing cast, which I'll show you my dirty shop over here, but if I'm doing cast and they're tumble lube, because I don't I haven't invested the money into a sizer, but if I tumble lube 100 rounds, I got to take and clean my dies. Usually I don't make it about 50 with sizing, and with seeding cast bullets. So you don't need all this fancy stuff to go with your press and everything. That reloading tray, it's been on that wall for a long time. It's probably dustier than hell, because I haven't reloaded in a couple months. Been pretty busy. Everything's gotten dusty down there. But that tray's been on there for a long time because I don't use it. I use these little trays. You can see a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be reloading. Got some Mod 6 back here. I want to be loading up a lot of 9mm. I just use them trays. Some of these trays are really nice. They're hollow underneath, so you can take and, if you reload like your brass, you can put your hand on it, flip it over. You can look down in there and like, yep, every one of them's primed, and it's done. So yeah, people leave them for free. You don't even have to pay for them. They just throw them in the trash. And Ziploc baggies that holds a lot of stuff. You can get by. Now you're going to need some calipers. I would say get manual ones, because, and I can't do it with one hand, because the manual ones I can set it a length and leave it. the digital ones, which I got a set of Hornady digital ones over here, and they work fine. It's just whenever I'm checking my hunting rounds, I'm turning it on and off, and it just runs the batteries dead. See this, I can set it to whatever length my overall is going to be, and I can check them, and I don't have to do, I just like it. And it's EMP proof for you guys. But anyway, I like the manual ones. They do cost more, and you want to get a good set of them. These have been nice. Like I said, you can use the digital ones, that's fine. You can get the expensive scales, but that little Lee one is it's touchy. You can't bump it while you're weighing, but it does work fine. It's actually more accurate than this digital Frankford Arsenal is. Don't buy a scale from Harbor Freight, because they're junk and they won't measure anywhere near accurate enough. Taste Lube from Cabela's sucks, but their brass polish is about the best I've ever used. I use motor oil. I use Simtac in my little oily can there, and I'll put a paper towel down there and run a few lines across it, let it soak in for a couple hours, and then I put my brass on it. Now a lot of people say, oh, try not to get oil dents in them. Well, Lee dies, I've never seen oil dents in them because they got a little hole up there, and I'll show it to you when I show you the dies that leave the oil out. Now I'll usually oil stuff pretty good, and there's not one dent in there. So anyway, you can use motor oil, cheap stuff. And you can do it. You can go a long way saving some money on it. You don't need that. Now, if you're shooting 200 or 300 yards, you won't have any problem getting more accurate than factory ammo. Now, if you're shooting 600 yards, there's some more things that you can do, and you got to watch for. But honestly, reloading is as complicated as you want to make it. You don't have to go overly complicated to understand anything. You don't need 20 bucks. Actually, 2 of them is Cartridge Conversion and Shooter's Bible, and then I got a SHOT Show reloading manual. I got some little pamphlets on that too. But I got a Lyman 49th edition and a Lee reloading manual. They give me a lot of coverage on cast in .6 and 30-30, and I even take some ads out of magazines where they have a column on reloading. I'll snip it out and put it in my reloading manuals. Like everything, you get this information, make sure of it. Work up to the charge. Don't just throw it in there and see if your gun will explode. That's the reckless way, and the way we lose eyeballs and important things like that. But remember, brass bends before steel, so watch your brass. It's really important. Like I said, reloading can be as expensive as you want, but you're not going to get your money back. And pretty much all presses are nice. I've never used that Smart Reloader. I think it's a Chinese-made press. But most of the other ones I've used or seen. Well, I've never used the Dillons either. But that's my personal preference. I don't buy luxury cars because they're not worth it to me. I don't need a butt warmer and a butt cooler or whatever. I don't need seats that give me a massage, and I just don't need all that. And I hate paying for stuff I don't need. And I'm not spending $50,000 on a vehicle, but that's just me. If you want to do that, that's just fine. I don't mean to insult anyone, but it's just, it is what it is, and you spend what money you need to spend. If you want everything fancy, then do it. I mean, there's ways around. I'm going to show you a lot of tricks. How not to get brass stuck, how to fix your dies when they do get stuck. We're going to get into a lot of things. If you have any questions, shoot them by me. I'll try to make a video on it. And y'all have a nice day, and later.